In the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, Hollywood was not just a place, it was a religion, a dream factory that spun celluloid into gold, creating gods and goddesses for a worshipping public. It was a world of blinding Klieg lights, red carpet premieres, and manufactured perfection. But to produce a perfect dream, you need a very dark place to hide the nightmares. In 1932, a young actress named Peg Entwistle, after failing to find success, climbed the 50-foot-tall H of the Hollywoodland sign. She folded her coat neatly, placed it on the ground, and leapt to her death. Her body wasn't found for 2 days. Her death was more than a tragedy. It was a symbol, a dark prophecy of what this town, this system, does to the dreams it consumes. Today, we are tearing down the facade. We are pulling back the velvet curtain to expose the 5 most shocking, tragic, and heartbreaking secrets that the golden age of Hollywood fought and is still fighting to keep buried. This is the side of Hollywood you were never meant to see.
Our first story is not a mystery of murder or a curse. It is something worse. It is the story of a slow, systematic, and documented destruction of a child. This is the tragedy of Judy Garland. To us, she was Dorothy, the innocent girl from Kansas with the ruby slippers and the soaring voice who followed the yellow brick road. To the studio, MGM, she was not a child. She was an asset. From the moment she was signed at 13, the studio system began to deconstruct and rebuild her. Studio head Louis B. Mayer, a man she was told to call father, reportedly called her "my little hunchback" because of her slight scoliosis. The control was total. To keep her thin, the studio put her on a starvation diet. Her handlers would reportedly snatch food from her plate, replacing it with a bowl of soup and a side of lettuce. But the real horror began with the scheduling. To force her to keep up with the grueling 18-hour workdays, the studio prescribed her pep pills, amphetamines, to stay awake, to stay thin, to keep dancing. But then, after 18 hours of being high on stimulants, the asset needed to sleep, so the studio gave her the opposite: sleeping pills, powerful barbiturates to knock her unconscious. This wasn't a secret. This was policy. Her co-star on Oz, Burt Lahr, called her a victim of the studio. Mickey Rooney, her frequent co-star, was on the same lethal cocktail. They were, in his words, the studio's guinea pigs. MGM systematically engineered a crippling, lifelong addiction in a child just to make a shooting schedule. The cover-up wasn't a single act. It was the entire system. The studio's power was absolute. It wasn't a crime because the studio was the law. Judy Garland would spend the rest of her life battling the demons that MGM had installed in her. She died at 47 from an incautious self-overdosage of those same barbiturates. The girl who sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" never made it out of Oz. She was the first and most public sacrifice to the studio machine. Our next story begins with an icon, the ultimate symbol of teenage rebellion, James Dean. In 1955, Dean was on top of the world, but he was obsessed with auto racing. He bought one of the most advanced and dangerous cars on the market, a Porsche 550 Spyder. It was a tiny, impossibly fast car. He nicknamed it Little Bastard. His friends were terrified of it. The actor Alec Guinness, who would later play Obi-Wan Kenobi, met Dean just 1 week before his death. Dean, proud, showed him the car.
Guinness later wrote that he felt a premonition. He told Dean, "Please do not get in that car. If you do, you will be dead in 1 week." 7 days later, on September 30th, 1955, James Dean was killed in a head-on collision. He was 24 years old. But the story of Little Bastard was just beginning. The car's story is not just a tragedy. It is perhaps the most well-documented curse in modern history. The mangled wreckage was bought by George Barris, a famous car customizer. The curse began immediately. As the car was being unloaded from the tow truck, it slipped and fell, crushing both of a mechanic's legs. Barris, unnerved, sold the engine and transmission to 2 amateur racers, Troy McHenry and William Escherud. In their very first race using the parts, they both crashed. Escherud's car locked up and rolled, leaving him with serious injuries. McHenry lost control, hit a tree, and was killed instantly. Barris, now holding a cursed object, loaned the shell of the car to a highway safety exhibit. The first exhibit it was in, the garage housing it, burned to the ground. Everything was ashes, except the car, which sat, unscratched, in the ruins. At the next exhibit, at a local high school, the car was sitting on a display stand. It suddenly fell, breaking a student's hip. The curse followed it on the road. The truck transporting the car to another exhibit lost control. The driver was thrown and killed, crushed under the Porsche's shell as it fell off the back. 2 more transport trucks mysteriously crashed. The car seemed to swat away its handlers. Finally, in 1960, the car was on a sealed boxcar being shipped from Miami to LA. When the train arrived in LA and the seals were broken, the boxcar was empty. Little Bastard was gone. It had vanished. To this day, no one knows where it is. Was it an elaborate studio publicity stunt to build the Dean myth? Or was it, as everyone who touched it came to believe, a truly evil object that finally, simply went home? We move now to 1981. The golden age is over, but its stars are still royalty. And on Thanksgiving weekend, 3 of them were on a yacht off Catalina Island. Natalie Wood, the beloved star of West Side Story, her husband, actor Robert Wagner, and her Brainstorm co-star, Christopher Walken. On the night of November 28th, the 3 had a loud, drunken argument at a restaurant on shore. They returned to the yacht, the Splendor. Sometime after midnight, Natalie Wood disappeared. She was found the next morning, floating face down in the water, a mile away from the yacht. She was wearing a nightgown, socks, and a red down jacket. The official story was a tragic accident. The coroner ruled that she had accidental drowning. The theory was that she couldn't sleep, went to secure the yacht's dinghy, which was banging against the hull, and slipped and fell. But the story never made sense. Why was she found a mile away? Why did she have a .14 blood alcohol level and fresh bruises on her body? Her sister, Lana Wood, and the boat's captain, Dennis Daverin, insisted Natalie was terrified of dark water. She never would have gone near the dinghy alone at night. The captain, Dennis Daverin, is the key. For decades, Daverin claimed he was pressured by Robert Wagner to stick to the accident story. But in 2011, he told investigators the truth. The night was not calm. He said he heard a massive, violent argument between Wagner and Wood. He claims he heard it escalate and then, suddenly, silence. Shortly after, Wagner, panicked and sweating, told Daverin that Natalie was missing. When Daverin went to turn on the floodlights to search, Wagner stopped him. "Don't do that," he said. "We don't want to alert the press." Based on this and the evidence of bruising,
The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department reopened the case in 2011. In 2013, they changed the cause of death from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors. And in 2018, detectives officially named Robert Wagner a person of interest. They stated, "We believe he knows more about what happened than he has said." The cover-up, it seems, held for 30 years. Today, it is an active, unsolved case. A dark secret hiding in plain sight, with the only two living witnesses, Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken, still holding the truth. But there is one death, one secret, one cover-up that eclipses them all. It is the darkest mystery in Hollywood history: the death of Marilyn Monroe. On August 5, 1962, the world was told that Marilyn Monroe, the biggest star on the planet, was dead at 36. The official cause, acute barbiturate poisoning, listed as a probable suicide. From the moment the news broke, the official story was full of holes. And at the center of those holes were two of the most powerful men in the world, President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. The story of the cover-up begins with the timeline. It is a mass of contradictions. Marilyn's housekeeper, Eunice Murray, first claimed she found the body around 3:30 a.m., but later she changed her story to midnight. The police were not called until 4:25 a.m. This is the missing time. 4.5 hours at minimum between the body being found and the authorities being alerted. What happened in those 4 hours? Everything. The first call, it's alleged, was not to the police. It was to the studio and to Marilyn's psychiatrist. When the police finally arrived, the scene was compromised. Marilyn's body, which was found face down, was moved. The room was clean. Her bed sheets had been freshly washed by the housekeeper. And most importantly, her little red diary, the book her friends said she kept all her secrets in, her secrets about the Kennedys, was gone. The conspiracy is not just a theory. It is a collection of damning questions. Why was Robert F. Kennedy, the Attorney General, in Los Angeles that very day? Multiple witnesses, including his own sister-in-law, place him there, flying out on a private plane just hours before the body was found. Why did the first responding officer, Jack Clemens, state it looked like a murder? He saw no water glass, no pills. He saw a body that looked like it had been placed in a position. The most explosive theory: it wasn't suicide, it was a forced suicide, an injection of Nembutal administered to silence her. Marilyn Monroe was no longer just a movie star. She was a political liability. She was having affairs with both Kennedy brothers. She knew state secrets, and she was threatening to go public. As the ambulance driver, James Hall, who claimed to be there that night, said, "She wasn't dead when they called us. She was in a coma. We were taking her to the hospital when a man in a suit stopped us, showed us ID, and ordered us to turn back." She was, in effect, silenced. The Dream Factory's greatest creation was destroyed when she became a threat to the most powerful men in the country. Her death was not a tragedy. It was an operation.
The Hollywood sign that Peg Entwistle climbed is no longer Hollywood land. They took off the land in 1949. They sold the illusion of a place, a destination, a dream. But the price of that dream was paid in blood. Judy Garland, James Dean, Natalie Wood, Marilyn Monroe. These are not just sad stories, they are warnings. They are the receipts for the price of fame. The Hollywood machine did not just create stars, it consumed them. And it employed an army of publicists, fixers, and lawyers to hide the bodies, clean the sheets, and bury the secrets. The Golden Age was beautiful, but it was built on a foundation of dark, tragic, and unsolved crimes.